Welcome to Talking Tech, our new web series where we talk to Hillsborough teachers about the successes with virtual teaching and learning. I'm Tom Adal, the Technology Integration Coordinator.
And I'm Mary Ellen Wilson, tech coach at the middle school in Auten Road. And today we are talking tech with Alexa and Nicole. Hi, ladies. Welcome. If you could just take a moment to introduce yourself, let us know who you are and where and what you teach.
Hi, I'm Nicole Amendola. I am the 8th grade math ASI teacher at Hillsborough Middle School.
And I'm Alexa Rusin. I also teach ASI math, but for 7th grade at Hillsborough Middle School.
Thank you both for joining us. And we were just wondering if you could talk a little bit about the successes that you are having with virtual learning. And if you could just tell me a little bit about that awesome Flipgrid project you did.
In school, we've done videos using Educreations. I kind of remember it being a little complicated, and I didn't really want to make it too complicated for the kids when we are not there to help them. So I thought maybe Flipgrid. I've been seeing my children at home use Flipgrid. They love it. And I thought either I would see the kids' faces or hear their voices. It's just something different than filling out a worksheet on Google Docs or an IXL or a Khan Academy where they have to explain their thought process. So the first thing I did, I'm going to just present my screen, is I created a document that had 13 math problems on it. And the reason I picked 13 is because that's the largest size of my class, or the size of my largest class. And I wanted each student to have a different problem within one class. And so on Google Classroom, that day when they logged on, each student had a number next to their name. I also ranged the level of difficulty in the problem, starting very, what I think is simple, to more complex. And then I was able to differentiate this lesson, giving, some of the students who are struggling an easier question versus some of, my students who need more of a challenge, the more complex questions at the end. And that is when I created my grids on Flipgrid. So this is the first time I ever used Flipgrid. I created 6 grids, one for each class. And within that grid, I labeled it Angles Video. And that is where I uploaded Mary Ellen's video on how to create and submit the video. I think going forward, I would also put that video on my Google Classroom because some of the kids did not see it there and they were asking me where the video was. And at that point, they followed the directions, they made the videos, and really without many questions, they started submitting them. Some of the kids did email me. I think knowing that they were recording themselves made them a little nervous. And they did email me to ask if I could check their work over, which was fine. And if they had corrections that needed to be made, I sent them some feedback. And then I just started watching them and writing comments. So I just picked a quick one that I can show you.
So Nicole, after your students did these Flipgrid videos, what did you do with them in order to share them with the rest of the class? Because I saw that you had them all hidden on Flipgrid, which meant that only you could see them. So how did you share these out with your students?
Okay, so what I did was I did not make them visible to the students when they were on Flipgrid. I went through each answer and I just jotted some notes down. And as you can see in the video, I gave some feedback to the students and I was able to email the feedback to them. So in my notes, I tried to keep track for each problem of who did a really good job. And then what I did, instead of releasing the videos on Flipgrid, was I went back to that Google Doc and I just inserted a link that brought you right to the answer. So as I shared this doc with them, they clicked on the link, and then this is what they did after. So Friday was the video. On Monday, I sent them this document. Now remember, there were 13 problems and they only did one problem. So before the assessment, I told them that their job was to, even if they didn't want to do every problem on their own, to at least watch the video for each problem and make sure that they understood each of them.
That's awesome. Now, shameless math pun. Alexa, how do you fit into this equation?
So when Nicole told me about what she had set up with Mary Ellen about angles, I immediately had light bulbs going off that I wanted to do the same thing with what we're the topic we're on in 7th grade, which is solving equations, 1 and 2-step equations. We had been working on it for about a week and a half, which is obviously longer than we would work on it in school. So I felt like they would be ready for more of an assessment type situation than Nicole's, where she was sort of making a review for an upcoming assessment. Mine had a little bit of a different meaning to it, but I did everything almost exactly the same. I set up my Google Classroom the same way, but with her recommendations, I did. So I'll present my screen too and show you what I have it looking like on the Google Classroom post. So I have the students, their question that they were assigned. I have a document with the equations that I wanted them to use, which I'll show in a minute. That same video that Mary Ellen made for Nicole, I used it with my own students. The link to the Flipgrid, that will bring them right there to where they're supposed to submit their video. And then every day I always have a Google Meet on the post that if they need help to call me and talk to me. So the equations were document looked like this. What I've added in here now is a student solution. Now that everybody's handed in their assignment, I gave them examples of, you know, what the answers were supposed to look like. And then on the Flipgrid, they were able to, let me see if I can find somebody to. So I hid them all as well as Nicole did. And then over here, I sent them feedback. This particular student made his video, I think 3 or 4 times because he kept making a little mistake and I kept sending him feedback. So he finally got it perfect this time. So that was exciting for us. And they were able to write on the screen as well as talk, which I thought was great for some of the students who are not comfortable with their face being on the screen. This was a great way for them to, you know, do what we would do in class without presenting their face on the screen. And you had asked in the beginning, what was our biggest accomplishment or feeling like something that we did great using, you know, during all this distance learning. And I really feel that this was the biggest accomplishment for me. It's very tedious to watch them all and give great feedback, but I feel like it had such more of a meaningful, you know, outcome. I can really see who can solve an equation. Like when they're clicking on multiple choice questions or going through IXL, like who could be doing that for them? But I can hear their voices and I can see their writing, and that was a really cool aspect of the Flipgrid. So I thank you both for encouraging me also to do it, even though I was hesitating as well. So thank you guys.
I love the angle that you guys took for this. It really lets kids get to the root of the problem. Even just using a fraction of these tools would be impressive, but this is just amazing. Just a positive factor in the kids' lives. I'm sorry, I'm being a little bit obtuse right now.
Oh my goodness.
But I did want to ask you, what else you guys are plotting in the future for you and your students?
Love the math puns.
How many math puns can you put into one spiel? I don't know.
I was preparing while you were talking.
That's awesome.
So I'll answer that. We are working on volume and applications of volume and word problems. I would love to give this as an assessment. So instead of, I do struggle with how do I assess my students from home? And I feel like Google Forms, it's always Google Forms, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I would love to change it up. So for me, I feel like I would love to send out a word problem, a multi-step word problem for each of my students, and have them just go through the whole process and create a rubric and score them and count it as a grade on Genesis.
Yeah, and I think for 7th grade, we move into multi-step equations and inequalities and word problems with equations. So I could definitely see myself trying this again. I would really like to continue this and hopefully encourage some of my 7th grade PLC to try it out as well.
It really warms my heart that the two of you who share classrooms next to one another, who collaborate on a daily basis, pretty much on a period basis, are still able to find ways to collaborate even though you're remotely working.
That was unbelievable to see what you do with those different tools and to have the kids solving problems and sharing with each other. It really is amazing work. So thank you so much for sharing, and thank you so much for talking tech with us today.
Thanks for having
you
us.
guys.
Thanks, ladies.
Thank
Bye.
you.